Frequency masking is an extremely common problem when it comes to mixing, and if you watched my video last week, you already learned some of this. Last week's video was all about frequency masking with the kick and the bass, which is a very common problem when it comes to mixing. In fact, us mixers cannot avoid frequency masking. When you have a bunch of sounds in the mix that deal with the same frequency ranges, you're definitely going to have some overlap and you're definitely going to run into this issue. Now, last week's video, I focused it solely on the kick and the bass, but there's actually more parts that I shot that continue the story of that video and show you the different ways frequency masking comes up. Now, luckily for you, in today's video, I'm going to show you the second part. This will be a 3-part series, but this second part will focus specifically on chords, melodies, and basically instrument sounds that are clashing with one another and the frequency masking that takes place between them, and more importantly for you, how to solve this issue so your instruments don't clash, so that they sound great in context with one another, and so that you ultimately sound better as a mixer. Are you ready? Let's go. So as mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a 3-part video series. I'll leave a link up above or in the description below for part 1 where we talked about the kick and the bass. But this second part is going to be focused on clashing instrument sounds, chords, melodies, things of that nature, and how to ultimately fix frequency masking issues between them. Before we get into that, I wanted to ask if you could please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I drop something new every single week, always focused on helping you sound better and helping you make more money with your music. So if you want help with these areas, definitely subscribe to the channel so I can help you with that. But with that in mind, let's rewind to last week and continue talking about frequency masking with clashing instruments. Here we go. So now I got 2 sounds here. I got a piano pad and I got a grand piano. I'm just going to play the section and maybe I'll solo each sound as well so you kind of hear what I'm talking about. Check this out. Now the issue with these 2 sounds is they very much live in a similar frequency range, and again, there's probably going to be some masking that's going on between the 2. I've already got my Pro Cue set up on each sound, and I've already set it up to recognize on the analyzer the opposing sound. So let's just look at the piano pad just for a quick moment and see where the masking is happening, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposing sound, and then we're going to make some decisions again. So it seems like these 3 bands, even though I've reduced them again, I don't mean to do that, I'm just doing that to mark the area. It seems like these 3 bands are a bit of the problematic spot. So I'm going to just leave them marked. I'm going to go to this opposing EQ now. And I've marked the same kind of spots. Looks like there might be 1 additional band. I couldn't see it on the other one. Maybe they're very similar. We're going to find out. But these are ultimately the spots where there's some overlap between the frequencies on both of these sounds. And we want to fix it, of course. So let's just listen to each of these sounds now. Listen to the individual frequencies that I've identified and isolated. And let's see exactly what kind of frequency content, is important to each one. Because what I might ultimately do is I might remove, this frequency from the opposing sound, but then this one from this sound, and ultimately go back and forth and decide which one should be prioritized for which sound to prevent masking or reduce it. And this pad sound has a little bit more low-end stuff. It's kind of got a wide spectrum, to be fair, of everything. But anyways, let's listen to this next frequency. So this frequency seems somewhat important for this band. Let's see this next one. And I'm just going to tighten the cue again because they're very close with each other, so we want to be careful here. So this band is kind of drony, sort of sounds the same, has the same sort of note playing the whole time, even during the key changes. So this one might be cool to get rid of on this. The low one I probably won't touch, but then this one I might want to prioritize and get rid of it on the other sound. Let's now do the same thing for this last frequency. So we're getting some note articulation on that one. So just to have an example of to point myself in the right direction, I might do something like this where I boost this, reduce this, and boost that. I'm not going to keep it like this. I'm just doing this as a marker for myself to come back to. So I'll bypass this. I'll go to this other sound, this piano pad. And let's just see now for these three that I've identified, how important are they overall, right? I'm just narrowing these cues. Check this out. 222 seems somewhat important there. Okay, that one seems somewhat important as well. And now I just want to double check and cross-reference both. Let me see if they're basically at the same frequency. So I got 202, 222, pretty close. 436, 429, extremely close. 653, I didn't have that marked here, so I'll just ignore that one. And then 1043, also very close, 929. So what I think I might do is, if I'm going to, have this one prioritized, I'm going to obviously get rid of it here. This one I kind of like, so I'll actually make it maybe more important there and make it less important here. And then this one, it's tough. If I decide to make this more prioritized, then obviously I got to get rid of it. I'm going to just play this in context with both so I can hear them once again and just discern which one makes more sense. And obviously this is a bit of a more long-winded process, as you can tell, but it's worth it because you're trying to get the best possible sound, right? So here we go, both sounds together for a moment. Yeah, so this bottom sound, this string part, I think is more important, so I will get rid of this top end frequency. So that being said, now what we got to do real quick is just make sure we set up our sends. So I'm going to just create a new bus here. Let's use 6364. I'll call it piano pad sidechain. And I'm going to do another band, or another bus here, I should say. And I'll do the opposing one. I'll rename that. Let's just call it string sidechain. I'll make both pre-fader. That way I can avoid any issues. And then we're just going to set this up. So I said that I want to reduce this. So let me just first set up the key to recognize what I just created, being the piano pad. Okay. And now this band, I don't want to reduce it exactly, but I'm going to just get rid of it a little bit there. And by get rid of it, I just mean, make it flat. I'm going to right click and choose make it dynamic. I'll make this a 3 dB perspective. We widen it just a little bit. Use this cross button to make sure it recognizes the sidechain. And let's just see for a moment how to set this up. So now I'm going to just dial in the threshold. A little bit more clarity. Let's go to the 653. We're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to flatten it so there's no gain reduction. Right click, make it dynamic. And then I'm going to drag the range so it comes down to about -2. I'll probably keep it pretty tight because, as you can tell, this is a very, these two sounds are very much living in a very similar area, so it's a little bit more intricate. And I'm going to just select auto. Choose this cross-looking sign for the sidechain, and I'll dial the threshold in. And as you can tell, when I dial the threshold in, I'm not having it fully slam it the entire time. It's kind of dynamic. It's going down at certain moments, and then it's not. It just sort of depends on the exact volume, because even as you could tell when we were identifying this, the red shading wasn't super, super red. The redder it is, the darker it is, the more masking that's taking place. By doing it this way, it's obviously showing there's less masking taking place, so I don't have to really clamp down on it so aggressively. At least that's my logic. So I'm going to just do this again. Let's do this threshold. Here we go. Okay, so this seems good. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go into the Pro Q on the opposing sound. Just going to make sure that my send level is good on the strings. Looks like it is. And once again, I've already boosted this, so I'll just get rid of this band altogether. We don't need it. But now I want to make room for the strings on these two particular frequencies. So every time the strings hits, it gets out of the way. So I'm going to just right click, make dynamic on both. I'm going to flatten these so that there's no reduction happening the entire time. I'll change my view so that I can see it a little bit better for a smaller movement. So roughly -2 for each. And then I'm just going to set up the reduction to be triggered by the sidechain. And now I'm just going to go in and obviously finesse my threshold, make sure it's at the right level. Here it goes. So I think that's cool. So now let me play it one more time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just A-B this. I'm going to take these two sounds out, put them in. And first, maybe I'll do this with both of them soloed. And then when it loops over, I'll take it out of solo, put it in context. Let's see, are each of them a little bit more clear, a little less muddy and you know, in the way of each other, right? Let's check this out. So again, it's somewhat subtle, but hopefully you notice when I put it in, there's just a little bit more definition in the whole mix. Each of these sounds feels a little bit more separate. It doesn't feel like they're getting in the way of each other, and it just sounds cleaner overall. So this is another example. Thanks for watching part 2 here. Part 3 is coming next week, and it's going to be all about the 2-track beat and the 2-track acapella or vocal, basically the vocal and beat masters. How do you deal with them, how to fix frequency masking issues between them, and ultimately how to get them to sit better because they can very often clash with one another. And a lot of us at home are dealing with 2-track beats rather than stems, so I wanted to break that down for you as well. Hope you got value out of this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. Once again, leave a comment down below if you want to see anything in the future. I appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you soon with part 3. See you later. Peace.
5